Joining me right now is a former friend of Dorner's, James Usera, who met him back at Southern Utah U. They met in college, played football together. James, you were actually mentioned in the manifesto. What can you tell us about Dorner?
You know, my experience with Dorner was perfectly positive. He was a guy who, with whom I developed a relationship on the football field, and, and that carried off into, social atmospheres as well. But he was a guy who I found to be intelligent and good sense of humor, and just a generally nice guy to hang around, real approachable, and just good, pleasant company.
As a matter of fact, you are quoted as saying he's the last guy I would have expected to be in this kind of situation. Why?
He was a person for whom I always had a great deal of respect. I know he served in the military and obviously served as an LAPD officer, which was sort of the last I had heard about him. So then to have him come out and perpetrate these crimes is pretty shocking. He was a person who I always found to be honest and to live his life with a great deal of integrity and knew right from wrong and behaved in a perfectly appropriate fashion in all circumstances. And so to then take a turn like this and perpetrate these crimes is just again it's out of character for the person who I knew and is shocking.
Everyone, with me, a former friend of Dorner's, James Usera, is joining us. Dorner is the former LAPD officer suspected of going on a deadly rampage as a homicidal vendetta after being booted from his police career. With me also, CNN's Anderson Cooper, who has been on the story, actually received communications from Dorner. When you're listening to this description, Anderson, are you surprised?
Well, I think oftentimes in cases like this, when you hear from people who knew a suspect, I think we often hear them say, look, this is not the person I knew. And this was, I've talked to Mr. Usera before, and this is, somebody he knew many years ago. And, people evolve, people change, and it's hard to predict what goes on in somebody's mind. And as you know, people have a lot of hidden parts of themselves. And certainly this is somebody who, starting with this grievance with the LAPD, felt he was a victim of corruption, felt he was a victim of racism, felt he was a victim on many different fronts, and rightly or wrongly, pointed to a specific incident as the cause of all of this. What we don't know, Nancy, and I think what's really critical for law enforcement to try to figure out over the next several days and weeks and months even, is why now? Why? I mean, there has been a long arc to Mr. Dorner's activities, and the incident of him getting booted off the LAPD occurred years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. So why did it take all this time for him? Was there some other new incident? Was there some other new reason for him to go on what authorities, have portrayed as a vendetta, and to go on this what authorities say is a killing spree? And we simply don't know the answer to that right now.
Well, Anderson, when you don't know a horse, let's look at his track record. Back to you, James Usera. You knew him at college, Southern Utah University, and you say he's the last guy that you would suspect of this. He refers to you in the manifesto as a friend that taught him about nature, about hunting, about other outdoor activities. My question is following up on what Anderson just said, and I think Anderson is right. How did you see him interact with other people other than playing football? How was he around other people? Did you see him one-on-one? I mean, what was his life like?
He was, as I said, he was, typical is not a very good descriptor, I know, but he was a typical 20-year-old guy. I mean, he was going to school and taking care of his schoolwork, and in terms of his social demeanor, again, he was approachable and intelligent, and he was a good conversationalist, and, all those things that I think made him attractive to other people. To maybe respond to Mr. Cooper's comment, my understanding is his dismissal from the LAPD was actually in the process of appeals up until about 2011, which may be part of the explanation for why this took so long to manifest, in the form of what's gone on in the past few days. So, and I don't have personal knowledge of that. That's just sort of what I've heard through the grapevine. But but again, I mean, my experience with Chris was that he was socially normal. I mean, he got along with people and is not the kind of person you would expect to lose it like this.